The story that you are about to hear is a compilation of documented true facts, featuring characters, events, or places that has played a role in shaping history. Please sit back and listen as I recite this narrative for you. On February 4, 1974, around 9 p.m., there was a knock on the door of apartment number 4 at 2603 Benvenue Street in Berkeley, California. A swarm of men and women with guns drawn charged in. They kidnapped Patty Hearst, a 19-year-old college student, beat up her fiancé, Stephen Weed, threw her in the trunk of their car, and drove away. Patricia Campbell Hearst Shaw, the 19-year-old heiress granddaughter of newspaper publisher William Randolph Hearst, who founded the world's largest newspaper, magazine, newsreel, and movie business, was born on February 20, 1954. Phoebe Hearst, a philanthropist, was her great-grandmother. Since before World War II, the family has been associated with enormous political power and an anti-communism stance. Patricia Hearst is the third of 5 daughters born to Randolph A. Hearst and Catherine Wood Campbell. She attended private schools in Los Angeles, San Mateo, Crystal Springs, and Monterey, California, as well as Menlo College and the University of California, Berkeley. Because Hearst's father was only one of several heirs and had no control over the Hearst interests, her parents did not believe it was necessary to take precautions for their children's personal safety. Hearst was a sophomore at Berkeley studying art history at the time of her kidnapping. She shared an apartment in Berkeley with her fiancé, Stephen Weed. Witnesses reported seeing a struggling Hearst being blindfolded and placed in the trunk of a car. After the kidnappers fired their guns to cover their escape, neighbors who came out into the street were forced to take cover. 3 days later, the Symbionese Liberation Army, or the SLA, a small leftist group in the United States, announced in a letter to Berkeley radio station that Hearst was a prisoner of war. The SLA, led by a hardened criminal named Donald DeFreeze, sought nothing less than to incite a guerrilla war against the United States government and destroy what they referred to as the capitalist state. Their ranks included women and men, blacks and whites, and anarchists and extremists from various walks in life. In a nutshell, they were a group of domestic terrorists, and potentially hazardous ones. They'd already killed one and seriously injured another Oakland school official with cyanide-tipped bullets. They kidnapped Hearst primarily to get the attention of the country. Hearst grew up in a wealthy and powerful family. Her grandfather was newspaper magnate William Randolph Hearst. The SLA's plan worked brilliantly. The kidnapping stunned the country and made front-page national news. 4 days later, the SLA demanded that the Hearst family donate $70 worth of food to every needy person from Santa Rosa to Los Angeles. The SLA stated that once this was completed, negotiations for Patricia Hearst's return would begin. Randolph Hearst reluctantly gave away $2 million in food. The SLA then deemed this insufficient and requested an additional $6 million. The Hearst Corporation said it would donate the additional sum if Patty was released unharmed. However, on April 15, 1974, a surveillance camera captured Hearst participating in an armed robbery of a San Francisco bank, the Hibernia Bank, while wielding an M1 carbine. While the robbery was taking place, 2 men entered the bank and were shot and injured. A witness testified at her trial that Hearst was several paces behind the others when running to the getaway car. She later declared in a tape sent to the authorities that she had joined the SLA of her own free will to fight for the liberation of the oppressed, and that she had even taken on a new name. On May 16, 2 SLA members were nearly apprehended while attempting to steal an ammunition belt from a local store. Hearst was also seen in a van across the street, while William Harris and his wife Emily were being watched by the manager of Mel's Sporting Goods in Inglewood, California. Harris was confronted by the manager and an employee as he exited the building. When a pistol fell out of Harris's waistband, there was a scuffle and the manager had to restrain him. Hearst fired an automatic carbine's entire magazine into the overhead storefront, causing the manager to duck behind a light post. He attempted to retaliate, but Hearst began aiming closer. Hearst and the heiress couple kidnapped the owners of two cars. One was a young man who was so taken with Hearst that he was hesitant to report the incident. During the trial, he testified about her discussing the effectiveness of cyanide-tipped bullets and repeatedly asking him if he was okay. The getaway van was found leading authorities to the SLA safe house, and the next day, Los Angeles police raided the SLA's secret headquarters. Donald DeVries, an African-American ex-convict known as General Field Marshal Simke, was among those killed. Patty Hearst and the two other SLA members, William and Emily Harris, who were wanted in connection with the April bank robbery, were not present. A warrant for Hearst's arrest was then issued for several felonies, including 2 counts of kidnapping. Hearst assisted in the creation of improvised explosive devices. During August 1975, these were used in 2 failed attempts to kill police officers, and one of the devices failed to detonate. Hearst was linked to the SLA armed robbery of Crocker National Bank in Carmichael, California, by money found in her apartment when she was arrested. She was the getaway car driver for the robbery. Amassed Emily Harris shot and killed Myrna Opsal, who was at the bank making a deposit. Hearst could face felony murder charges and testify as a witness against Harris for a capital offense. After crisscrossing the country with her captors, or co-conspirators, for more than a year, Hearst, or Tania, as she called herself, was apprehended in a San Francisco apartment and arrested for armed robbery on September 18, 1975. Hearst listed her occupation as urban guerrilla while being booked into jail and asked her attorney to relay the following message. "Tell everybody that I'm smiling, that I feel free and strong, and I send my greetings and love to all the sisters and brothers out there." Tania is the nom de guerre of Heidi Tamara Bonke Bider, who fought with Latin American revolutionary Che Guevara. Despite her claim that she had been brainwashed by the SLA, she was convicted and sentenced to 7 years in prison for bank robbery and felonious use of firearms on March 20, 1976. The prosecution claimed at her trial that Hearst joined the Symbionese Liberation Army on her own volition. She did, however, testify that she was raped and threatened with death while being held captive. According to Hearst's later testimony, she was held for a week in a closet, blindfolded and with her hands tied, during which time SLA founder and leader Simke, or Donald DeVries, threatened her with death on multiple occasions. She was allowed out for meals while blindfolded, and she later began to participate in political discussions. She was given a flashlight and SLA political tracts to memorize. DeVries told me that the War Council had decided or was thinking about killing me or staying with them, and that I better start thinking about that as a possibility. Hearst said after being confined in the closet for weeks. "I accommodated my thoughts to coincide with theirs," Hearst said. In a different account, Hearst stated that she was given the option of being released or joining the SLA. When asked about her decision, Hearst stated that she wished to remain and fight with the SLA. The blindfold was removed, revealing her captors for the first time. Following that, she was given daily lessons on her responsibilities, particularly weapon drills. Angela Atwood told Hearst the others thought she should know about the unit's sexual freedom. According to her lawyer, Hearst was allegedly raped by William "Willie" Wolfe and later by DeVries. According to testimony at trial, the group's main goal was to use the Hearst family's political clout to free 2 SLA members who had been arrested in connection with Marcus Foster's death. President Carter commuted her sentence after she had served 21 months. Her release on February 1, 1979 was subject to strict conditions, and she was placed on probation for the remainder of her state sentence for the sporting goods store plea. She returned to a more normal life after being released from prison and later married her bodyguard, Bernard Lee Shaw, a police officer who was part of her security detail during her time on bail, with whom she had two children. She was pardoned by President Clinton in January 2001.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to say that I am incredibly grateful that you took time out of your schedule to listen to my narration. This is Nikki of Twisted Mind, wishing you a great rest of your day. Salamat.